Kings, queens, and in-betweens, welcome back to another City Boys episode. This week we are doing another City Boys spotlight, and this week we will be covering Philadelphia Union. But first, boys, how are we doing? Grayson, how's your week been, brother?
Dude, my week's been good. I just watched Chelsea come from behind against West Ham today and get back into the top four, so I'm feeling very excited to talk some ball today. How we doing, Ethan?
Man, as always, it's another day in paradise. But as a Manchester United fan, I am hurting today. Marcus Rashford in Aston Villa clothes. Lissandro Martinez has done his knee once again. I've been better. All right.
Kobe
Let's talk.
Mainu playing striker?
Listen, guys, let's talk about the MLS. All right. That's how I'm feeling.
Fair.
Yeah, as a Manchester City fan, haven't seen top four in a little while this season, but we're making our way back up there. So that gives me hope. But what else gives me hope is covering Philadelphia Union today. Like I said, this is our first. This is our fifth installment of the City Boys Spotlight, and Philadelphia Union is a very historic club. We have a lot to cover tonight, and I think it's best if we start off with their history. Ethan, would you like to take it away, sir?
I would be delighted, Sir Jacob, because Philadelphia has a unique origin story. All right. As St. Louis City fans, we know a thing or two about great supporter culture, but Philadelphia genuinely took it to a new level. In 2007, a supporters group, the Sons of Ben, conveniently abbreviated to the SOBs, marched into our nation's capital in Washington, D.C. for the MLS Cup final, supporting a team that didn't even exist yet, gentlemen. All
Wow.
right. You got to be next level nuts to do that. To march
Yeah.
for a team that does not exist, put together colors and banners, all that. Very inspiring stuff, honestly. Well, they would be rewarded for their efforts because in 2008, the next year, they would be awarded the 16th MLS team. Hats off to the SOBs. Sound like a great group of lads and laddies. Going back even further, though, the Philadelphia Atoms and the Philadelphia Fury would both compete in the NASL before the MLS was even conceived. So we always got to show love to our OGs from the NASL. On a personal historical note, the Philadelphia Union used to have an affiliate team, the Harrisburg Islanders. I got to see them play in like eighth grade, and they do not exist anymore. Just a quick RIP to the Harrisburg Islanders.
Pour one out.
The Philadelphia Union played their first match in 2010 and would go on 12 years later to appear in their first MLS Cup final, one of the best finals of all time. Just that's not a bad 12-year span, I would say. In that time, they've been to the Lamar Hunt Open Cup three different times. They've appeared in the MLS playoff eight times, and in 2020, they won the Supporters Shield. However, I have a quick likeness to liken the Philadelphia Union to because they haven't not won a trophy yet in the MLS. The Supporters Shield is very debatable. They were on top of the table. They were first in the league when it came time for the playoffs, but they've never won the cup. They've never brought down the final. Do we have the Tottenham Hotspur of the MLS on our hands here, gentlemen?
Ooh. It's honestly so hard to talk about the validity of winning the Supporters Shield because St. Louis, we're pretty close to winning it in our first inaugural season. And honestly, if you win that and get knocked out of playoffs, I'm sure it doesn't feel as good as you thought it would have, you know?
I would say if you're coming home with hardware, it's definitely like a victory. Granted, the
True.
Supporters Shield isn't like, the MLS Cup, but it's definitely up there. So got
Mhm.
to give credit where credit's due, but I'm sure as Philly fans all know, what really matters is the cup that you drink out of at the end of the day, and they currently don't have one.
Not put together a cup winning performance as of yet. As of yet, all right. The Philadelphia Union do have some pretty notable players to their names. Very recent history. Jack McGlynn. I think a lot of Philly fans are going to be beating the ground, hitting their desk, maybe punching their laptop screens as I say this. I'm sorry,
Yeah.
I didn't trade away Jack McGlynn. I wouldn't have done this if I were in the Philly front office. That kid is going to be unbelievable. Also, some notable players: Sebastian Letou, he scored the club's first ever goal. Freddie Adu, a pretty notable American
Oh
player,
yeah.
used to play for them. The Aronson brothers, Brendan and Paxton. Keep your eye on Paxton Aronson. This kid is going to be just as good as Brendan one day. Austin Trusty also played for the Philadelphia Union, which
Mm.
I kind of forgot, if I'm being
Yeah,
honest.
same.
I
Me too.
kind of thought he just popped up for Arsenal one day. So that about wraps up their notable players. They have some rivals in New York City FC, and the New York Red Bulls are some pretty notable rivals for them. I think maybe a little bit of history with DC United as well, but I would love for some Philly fan input. I'm gonna wrap it up for their history though, because I am very interested in their current squad. Grayson, what do you got?
Yeah, their squad is an interesting one, and let's start off with the South African elephant in the room. Bradley Carnell is the head coach of the Philadelphia Union, someone that we are very familiar with. He's the first ever head coach of St. Louis City. So, as you guys know, us being diehard City fans have seen him quite a bit. So in his history, he took STL to a very good first season, topping the Western Conference, but then losing to Kansas City, of course. We've mentioned it millions of times. How could we
Yeah.
not? In season two, began to lose the dressing room a little bit, lost faith in a couple of players, had some falling outs, and then the results started to follow as well. So Bradley Carnell eventually got the sack. So I just wanted to, chat with you guys real quick. How do you guys think Bradley Carnell is going to do in Philly?
I'm gonna save my opinions for the predictions part of it because I do have a little Bradley Carnell bit
Mm,
in there, but
okay.
Ooh,
I'm
stick
not gonna stop.
around.
I'm not gonna stop Ethan from giving an opinion right now.
To the Philly fans, I will say what I predict from Bradley Carnell is a little bit of stubbornness. I expect that he improved uh, his tactical flexibility at the very least, just because that was his biggest flaw at St. Louis. So I would expect that he has improved on that front, but that was where he ran into the biggest problems was the dressing room and his inability to adjust.
I'd have to agree with you there. Moving on into the squad, in the back, one day he will be known as an MLS legend. They've got Andre Blake in the goal. Has the most MLS goalkeeper of the year awards. He won it three times in 2016, 2020, and 2022, and got one runner up twice in 2017 and in 21. Of course, is the starting goalkeeper for the Reggae Boys in Jamaica.
Just to put that in context, Gray, Roman Berkey was the 2023 runner-up for goal, or was the goalkeeper of the year. So it's very real.
Yeah, he's very, very good. Very, very strong. So moving into their defense, of course, no movement in the back. They don't need to move anybody around. Andre Blake's holding it down. Their starting center back, who will probably not be moved many times from their starting 11, is Norwegian center back Jakob Glens. He's a 2023 MLS All-Star center back. He's getting up there in age. I think he's about 32 years old. He's pretty slow. I would really liken him to our boy Joachim Nilsson, who's a very solid heavy tackler, losing a little bit of mobility here and there, but still a very class player. Of course, we've got Kai Wagner, the German left back who had 10 assists last season from the left back
Damn,
position. I know.
damn.
Yeah.
He's
Kai
very,
Kai's a
very good.
baller.
He is very good.
That was one of the players that I was hoping STL was going to look at when looking for left back replacements. I think he's a little bit out of our budget, honestly, but he is one of the best wingbacks in the league.
For sure.
New movement in. We've got Ian Glavenovich, who looks to be paired with Jakob in the back four. Also, Neil Pierre could fill in there as well. Isaiah LaFleur, they signed him last season. He spent the entire 2024 season injured. So he will pretty much be a new signing there. But the midfield is where Philly really gets exciting. Starting off with their MVP, Daniel Gazdag, is definitely their goal getter. He finished last season with 19 goals and 8 assists in all competitions as a center attacking mid. Just absolutely insane. Uh, New signing, we've got Danley Jean-Jacques, who's a Haitian center midfielder from Ligue 1. He'll be an interesting one. He's about 25 years old, but the MLS is making a fuss over one specific player, so much so that in a preseason video I saw 2 days ago, when the narrator said stars of the league, they showed Kavan Sullivan first and then Lionel Messi.
Wow.
Kavan Sullivan is only 15 years old and
Yeah.
has already signed a contract with Manchester City where he will join Man City when he turns 18.
Insane.
And he only got 3 MLS appearances last season. But when you do watch this kid play, I do understand the hype for the most part. He's an extremely good ball carrier. His dribbling skills are out there, and his distribution is very good.
I'll
I mean, and
say
he's only 15 too. He's moving crazy.
he's fun to watch. And of course, he has the looming Manchester City departure. But a star of the league after only 3 appearances? I don't know. I don't know if I can go for that.
Yeah, I'd have to agree with you.
Wow, I'm on a completely different wavelength, but go ahead, Grayson.
Maybe it's a little misguided. I want to hear what you have to say, Jacob.
I think he definitely fits the bill for like a future stars of the league. Granted, he is only 15 years old, but like dude, you're getting 3 appearances in the MLS at 15 years old. Personally, he's living out my childhood dream of playing professional
No
soccer,
doubt.
being signed by my favorite club in the world next to St. Louis and Manchester City. Um, so yeah, it doesn't surprise me at all that MLS is putting so much marketing stock into him, especially with where his ceiling's at. Like he's performed really well with the US youth national team. He's probably going to get a lot of minutes this year with Philly because they're putting so much promotional work into him. And as long as it's not another catastrophic Freddie Adu career trajectory,
Yeah.
he could help the US bring home a World Cup one day. I would not be surprised.
Wow.
That really is the question is have the US soccer media and has the league learned from the Freddie Adu situation? Or are we pushing Kavan Sullivan too much already? We will see. But there is another Sullivan brother you should be hype about, and that is Quinn Sullivan. He deserves his flowers. He is only 20 years old, and last season had 7 goals and 10 assists in all competitions.
Damn.
That's
He's a
very
baller,
good. He's super
baller.
good.
Very highly rated young attacking midfielder. He's definitely going to be one to watch moving overseas. Philly is very much uh, proud of their academy and their ability to produce quality players. I mean, look at the Aronson brothers.
Yep. The Aronson brothers, Jack McGlynn.
Exactly. So I wouldn't be surprised if we see the Sullivan brothers get really good and then move on pretty fast. There are 2 other Sullivan brothers that have signed for Philly. So keep an eye on them
There's
too.
4 of them.
There's 4 of them, and they all play for Philly. The other 2 are still in the academy, but insane stuff, really. Insane stuff.
Good luck, gents. Good luck.
Shout out to mom and pops for real, producing 4 potentially
Yeah.
elite professional soccer
You're
players.
insane.
Good job.
We've got the Sullivan midfield in the U.S. men's national team. That'd be absurd.
2030 World Cup.
Moving on to their goal getters up top. The main men for Philly are Mikael Ure or Ur. He's from Denmark. So apologies if I completely botched that. He had 10 goals and 5 assists last season. Definitely respectable. And then, of course, Ty Baribo had 16 goals and 2 assists last season. So
Damn.
pretty solid striker pairing there, filling in where the others fall out. That is pretty much the end of my Philly Union squad wrap up. I will say the last but not least, Philly has re-signed U.S. men's national team legend. I don't know if I'd call him that, but has been around the team for a long time. That would be Alejandro Bedoya. They signed him to a one-year contract to the end of 2025. So we'll see how that goes. Last season he had 3 goals. I mean, you gotta love him. You gotta love him. So we'll see how their squad, shows out this year.
I have fond memories of watching that 2014 US squad. I don't really care how they performed, and he was a
Mm.
part of that. So he, I view him with my nostalgia glasses on, definitely.
Yeah. Put a little bit more respect on the Chunky Boy's name for real. All right, I'll take us into the predictions. I'm kind of flabbergasted with the amount of double-digit goal scorers that Philadelphia had, as well as having 8 clean sheets last year. The fact that they
Wow.
finished 12th in the Eastern Conference surprises me. They had 37 total points and were only 3 points off of a playoff spot last year. So not a successful season, but like definitely one to look for. They went 9 wins, 10 draws, and 15 losses. They started the regular season extremely well with 3 wins and 3 draws in the first 6 games. And then it kind of falls off. They then had 4 losses out of their next 5 games, didn't win a single game in June, won 2 out of 5 in July, and then for the rest of the season, they were really hit and miss as far as wins and losses back and forth.
Wow. That's a
Yeah,
rough second half of the
Brutal.
season.
yeah. Started hot, ended terribly.
Ice cold.
So this takes us into the new brainchild game of crossbar that Grayson has created for us. Like I stated earlier, I was going to save my Carnell comments for later, and
Mm.
now's a great time to give them. The Carnell crossbar, if you're going to sky it or bury it, is set at over under 1.5 years as their head coach.
Mm.
For STL, he had basically a year and a half of head
He
coaching tenure.
smacked the crossbar.
So I want to ask you guys, does he make it over 1.5 years as a coach, or does he crash and burn and not make it over his current median of coaching?
I'm gonna go ahead and just take the under on this one, and it's
Damn.
no shade to Bradley
Damn.
Carnell. Truthfully, I just feel like the tenure of an MLS coach is not very long, and Bradley has been the interim head coach at New York. He was the head coach for just about a year and a half at St. Louis, and I hope that Philadelphia is his home. I hope that he can be their next Jim Curtin. Maybe not as a St. Louis fan, but I want the best for him. I don't know if it's in Philly.
I am gonna take the over. I think he will get at least 2 seasons. I predict their first season won't be too rocky. Second season, I could see them doing a lot more movement in the transfer market. So we'll definitely have to see what the issues are with their squad this year and how he can react because that was definitely something that he struggled with at St. Louis was reacting in season 2 and actually making changes. You mentioned his stubbornness earlier. I think if he can be creative, be willingness to chop and change and experiment and try new things will be beneficial in his long term.
I'm gonna agree with Ethan, for a different reason though. I'm gonna take the under. I don't think he makes it 1.5 years. While I do love our St. Louis City fans, Philly fans are a lot crazier and a lot rowdier, and I
Mhm.
think the seat is gonna get very, very hot if he doesn't have a great first year. So I'm gonna take the under, and that's strictly due to outcry from fans if he is not successful. Moving into the second round of Crossbar, the line is set at 9.5 wins. Ethan,
Hmm.
or I think you went first last time. Grayson, 9.5 wins.
They had 8 last season?
They
No,
ended
wait,
with
eight.
9,
8 clean sheets.
8 clean sheets.
I think they I think they get over this year, which is interesting considering they didn't do too much shopping and changing. I do think they will improve very, very slightly just because you do have a lot of young players who are coming into their own. At the same time, I think they will improve. If they had kept Jack McGlynn, I think they'd be in a very, very good spot here. But since they didn't, they're not going to be super, they're not going to get a super big bump. I think they'll probably get like 10 wins.
Yeah, I like the prediction, Grayson. I They needed 3 points to be a playoff team last season, and I think that is on their it's in their locker rooms. If they're a good team, then that's going to be the chip on their shoulder this season. And one win, one extra win from those 15 losses would be the 10 for them. So
Mm.
I think I'm gonna take the over. I think they can convert two of those 15 losses into a couple of wins just to push them over that 10 mark and get them into the playoffs.
I'm also going to take the over, and this is kind of a inside City Boys joke at this point. My over is because they haven't been very active in the transfer window so far, that after we release this episode, they're going to sign some big name player that takes away the press and the media of letting
Um,
Jack McGlynn go, and that's going to be the person that pushes them over that benchmark. So yeah, I'm going to take the over. Or second to last one, Andre Blake had 8 clean sheets last year.
Very
They
good.
done a little bit of work in the defensive room. I've got the line set at 7.5 clean sheets on the season. I'm gonna start. I think with Bradley Carnell and Andre Blake in the back, defensively, they're gonna be about as good as they were last year. I don't think Carnell's going to make a ton of changes to the defensive mindset. He is going to bring a higher pressing, deep pressing mindset to like the attackers on the team. But as far as defenders go, I don't think he's going to change it too much. So I'm going to take the over, and I think they end with basically 8 clean sheets again.
I think it's extremely important for Bradley Carnell to figure out his center back pairing. Jakob Glens seems to have the right center back locked in. They're just trying to figure out who their left center back is going to be. It could be Ian Glasenovich or whatever his name is. They also have just a couple other young, hungry center backs that they could, chop and change. And who knows, they might have a hidden gem in there. So I think they do I'm going to take the over. I'm going to sky it on the clean sheets, not the clean shits. I'm going to sky it. Just leave it at that.
For Andre Blake, I'm going to take the over. He is a very good goalkeeper. The MLS has a sort of fraternity of very tenured goalkeepers. Like I think of him and Sean Johnson. They jump out to me, and they're very good. I really do rate these guys. So I'm going to take the over for Andre Blake and give him 9 clean sheets this season.
Damn. All right. Last one, but definitely not the least one. This one's pretty important. You got 4 options to choose from, gentlemen, just like in the past. Are they not a playoff team? Are they a bubble team? Are they a playoff team? Or are they a contender? I'm gonna go first again because mine's gonna be short and sweet. The East is pretty weak as far as competition goes. They were 3 points off of a playoff berth, which technically means they were on the bubble last year. So I'm going to put them into that playoff team region. I don't think they're a contender as of right now, though. Um, and Philadelphia is a great place to play. The atmosphere is going to be booming if the team plays well, and teams feed off that. So playoff is in their futures.
I'm going to take the playoffs as well. I think they will put together those final 3 points. Man, decision day must have sucked for a Philly fan last year.
Yeah.
And
I'm pretty sure they lost their last game of the season.
Exactly.
my logic is that and this is no disrespect to Big Sam because I think Big Sam is a great dude, but they had Big Sam as their striker toward the end of last season, and he will not be their starting striker or getting any clock for them next season. Hopefully, if they make an improvement on that front, they make it into the playoffs easily.
I think they're going to be a playoff team with all the improvement I think they're going to make. They're going to be slightly better. They're going to earn that playoff spot. I don't see them going very far, but they'll at least make it over the hump. They'll get into the tournament and see what happens from there.
Cool. Well, that wraps up Crossbar. And do you guys have anything else to say?
Surely we can put together some final thoughts on the city of brotherly love.
I would like to shout out a new resident in the city of brotherly love. My sister is now a resident of Philadelphia. They will be in attendance for the St. Louis versus Philadelphia game. Find them. I'm sure they're going to be screaming and red-faced and um have told me that they're still going to be a St. Louis City fan when they get there, but are also a Philadelphia Eagles fan. So who really knows where their loyalties lie at this point? So don't kick them out of the stadium if they're being too rowdy.
We'll see if they can get a Super Bowl this year for Philly.
Perhaps. I don't know. I'm rooting
I
for
don't think so.
nobody in the Super Bowl this year. Um, as far as the Philadelphia Union goes, I think they have a cool badge. I think they're the only badge with a snake in it. I can't really confirm or deny that, but I like that about Philadelphia. I like their colors. I want to get up to Philly for a game.
Well, thank you guys for joining us for another City Boys Spotlight. Our next episode that's going to be released is Toronto FC, so be on the lookout for that. We're trying to keep you guys the most knowledgeable fan base in the game, as well as improve our own knowledge on all the MLS teams. So appreciate you guys stopping by. If you've been watching on YouTube, make sure you're liked, subscribed, and comment. If you are listening on Spotify, make sure you follow and rate 5 stars. Also, you can comment on Spotify
Okay.
now as well.
Oh,
So I
leave a
guess do
comment.
that. If you've never commented on Spotify before, go check it out. It was weird the first time I saw it. Um, Anyways, most importantly, our final call to action is do not forget to tell your mother you love her. Peace.
Love you, mama.
MLS. MLS. MLS.